When I was ready to have kids, I went to the doctor to ask how I can optimize my fertility. They told me that I had to fail to conceive for 12 months or have had 3 miscarriages before they could do anything. But what if I didn't want to wait 12 months or have 3 miscarriages? That's when I knew I was on my own, so I did a deep dive into the research to hack my own fertility. Hi, my name's Amy Leisha and I'm obsessed with women's health. I was able to fall pregnant just after 2 months of trying. And maybe that would have happened anyway, but why would I not do everything in my power to maximize my fertility? In this video, I'm gonna give you everything I did based on the research, starting with cycle tracking. Because what I did before was just as important, if not more, than what I did in the month 1 and 2. Did you know that there is roughly 2 to 6 days in a cycle where you can actually fall pregnant? And the chance of falling pregnant in any healthy cycle with perfect timing is only 30%. So I was adamant to do my best to get it right. So basically, I gathered a bunch of information to understand my body better and how my cycle worked. I learned what was normal and what was abnormal. This led me down a 4-year-long deep dive of how our menstrual cycle really works. I tracked my basal body temperature to work out whether I was ovulating. Is my temperature in a normal range? Is it too high? Is it too low? I looked at my cycle length and the different phase lengths, luteal and follicular phase lengths of the cycle, and the trends it had over a certain period of time. I tracked my symptoms, feelings, headache, bloating, whether I had tender breasts, all of the kind of PMS-y symptoms, how bad it was 1 month versus another month. Do I have the same kind of symptoms each month? Then I tracked cervical mucus, its consistency, amount, what it looked like, how much I was getting, how many days am I getting fertile cervical mucus? Is it in a normal range of days in my cycle? Am I getting it every month? If you want to know how to track your own cycle, I have a video on my channel that will explain all of this stuff in detail. It's on screen and I've linked it in the description. I did all of this to compare to the normal ranges. What I learned from cycle tracking was very specific to my needs. So for you, comparing your cycle to these normal values is going to help you to assess for your specific needs. So let's take a quick look at what the normal ranges are. A normal cycle sits roughly between 24 and 35 days, averaging at 29 days, with a period bleed of 3 to 7 days producing about 25 to 80 mils of blood. The blood can be measured using a period cup or estimated the amount of soaked pads or tampons each day. A cycle is irregular if it consistently varies more than 8 days. So any smaller fluctuation than 8 days isn't actually an irregular cycle. It doesn't have to be the same length, bang on, month to month. After your period is the pre-ovulation phase, when you are the most fertile. You're fertile roughly between 5 to 6 days of your entire cycle. Again, that can vary because it tends to be longer when you first get your period, and when you're closer to menopause, the amount of fertile days actually decreases. In the scheme of an entire month, 5 to 6 days really isn't a lot of days. A true menstrual cycle requires ovulation. Without it, it really doesn't count. It's not a full real cycle. And ovulation doesn't happen at the same day every month. It usually occurs between days 10 and 23 of a cycle. After ovulation becomes the post-ovulatory phase, where you're no longer fertile. Pretty much after ovulation, can't get pregnant, and your body either prepares for pregnancy or it prepares for a period. The post-ovulatory phase should be roughly between 12 to 14 days. Longer or shorter is abnormal. A really painful period is not normal. Your period shouldn't interfere with your normal day-to-day life. Extreme pain can often be linked with endometriosis and is worth checking out if you're experiencing it. Anything outside of these norms should be checked and assessed for any underlying problems or causes of these abnormalities. I also started to use this cycle tracking as mine and my husband's main method of birth control. However, only after I felt extremely confident in knowing my cycle. When done correctly, this method can provide up to 99.4% effectiveness when used as birth control. That is very, very effective. It was very effective for us and had no pregnancy scares in the 2 years using the method. Let's look more specifically at some of the changes that I made. After about 3 to 6 months, I started to notice a pattern and discovered the abnormalities that I was dealing with. This is when I started to make changes to my diet and lifestyle to get my cycle into a consistently normal range where I was ovulating regularly. Diet was huge for me, and I believe it made pretty much the biggest impact. I tried many different diets as I was learning to do and what would benefit me most, to which I ended up more on a keto/carnivore high protein diet and found that this was the most effective and most researched. With the reduction of carbs and sugars, I noticed that my cycle became more consistent month to month and I had less PMS symptoms and erratic changes. My previously irregular cycle became very regular. Diet can often be a really interesting topic with many different opinions out there. It can be so confusing. I looked at a lot of research and the most compelling by far was keto for fertility and PCOS. Not that I have PCOS, however, the mechanisms of blood sugar and hormone hormone regulation was enough for me to try it. Here's just a few quick studies on the topic. A 2017 systematic review of clinical trials found that low-carb diets tend to reduce circulating insulin levels, improve hormonal balance, and resume ovulation to improve pregnancy rates. That's pretty encouraging. A 2019 meta-analysis of randomized control trials showed similar findings, concluding proper control of carbohydrate intake provides a beneficial effect on some aspects of PCOS. So again, controlling carbs, reducing carbs, beneficial for PCOS. Another systematic review, this time in 2021, concluded that low carb is likely superior for fertility and restoring normal menstruation. So a low carb or ketogenic diet has been shown again and again to have such positive effect on PCOS, menstrual cycle regulation, and fertility. I was convinced to give it a go and got some really great results myself. I eased my way into it to help with adherence, and bonus was it didn't feel hard to stick to the longer I did it. There was all the vitamins that I was taking, including zinc, activated B complex, B12, vitamin D, magnesium, cod liver oil, folate, organ supplements, and a probiotic to improve levels that were low when I had them tested. That's why I was taking all of these things. I continued these, and I still take all of these today as my levels have improved but have been maintained within their healthy levels with the supplementation. When it comes to supplementation, not worth doing willy-nilly, but I was monitoring its change in effect, and taking all those supplements was benefiting me. The pill or hormonal birth control has been shown to deplete key nutrients including folic acid, vitamins B2, B6, B12, vitamin C and E, and the mineral magnesium, selenium, and zinc. That is a lot of nutrient depletion. And I'd previously been on the pill prior to the copper IUD that I got removed pretty much before all of this, so it didn't surprise me that I did have nutrient deficiencies. I spent time de-stressing and slowing down where I could, as stress plays a huge role in cycle and hormonal fluctuations. Stress affects every aspect of your health, but especially hormones, with cortisol blocking progesterone production. Not good, as I needed adequate progesterone to build a nice cushiony lining for a baby to implant into. I was mindful of this as I already had theoretical concerns that my progesterone levels may have actually been low. Not stressing was so hard for me. I have a tendency to stress at kind of just really the smallest things, and it was probably the hardest thing for me to control, honestly. A few months prior to trying to conceive, I read an article about undereating and its negative effect on hormonal balance, causing both estrogen and progesterone to decrease below normal levels. This is a snippet from a study. In humans, long-term energy deficiencies can result in functional hypothalamic amenorrhea, or the absence of a period, and therefore decrease estrogen exposure, diminish estrogen's impact on bone, reproductive, and cardiovascular regulation, often resulting in osteopenia, stress fractures, transient infertility, dyslipidemia, and impaired endothelial function. Now, none of that sounds good or positive in the slightest. So I suspected my calories may have been too low, as my pre-ovulation temperatures were higher than usual and my normal values and post-ovulation temperatures were lower than the average normal values. This could potentially be due to low estrogen and progesterone in the respective stages of the cycle. Estrogen in the first stage, progesterone in the second stage of the cycle. This is why I was concerned about my hormone levels. At this point, I'd been tracking my cycle for so long that looking at finer detail of temperature made sense to me. The month prior to trying, I worked really hard on increasing my calories in a healthy way. I just ate a lot of healthy fats and proteins. I had also read about the benefits of light therapy on fertility. A Denmark study showed that light therapy offers a promising option for women facing reproductive health issues as a natural, non-invasive supplement to other types of assisted reproductive technology. So out of 400 previously infertile women, 260 were able to conceive following near-infrared treatment. That's a pretty high number of those who were infertile previously. So with this in my mind, it was worth a try. So I started using the red light and near-infrared light therapy belt that I already had, and I was using it every second day. Another really crucial thing I learned was to identify my fertility window, which was probably one of the most important pieces of info when it came to trying to conceive. Given there are roughly only 5 to 6 fertile days each month of the cycle, there is a very small chance. So if you don't know when these days are, it's gonna make it a lot harder to actually conceive. By this point, after doing all of this stuff, we decided that even if my hormones were low, the only thing I could really do was de-stress, eat more. We decided to just start trying at this point because we were getting closer to making the decision. A close friend's having a baby really didn't help our initial thought on waiting. She was so cute and we fell in love. So what did I do in month 1 or cycle 1 of trying? Because I'd done a lot of pre-prep work on my health, I was less focused on strategies outside of prioritizing doing the deed in my fertile window. This first month was rather rushed and stress-filled. I had a work trip away in the fertile window. This really was less than ideal, and it definitely did increase my stress. because I am a very organized person. I noticed that I had fertile cervical mucus while I was away and ovulated 2 days after I returned. This gave us only a really short 2-day window of trying. Fertile cervical mucus looks like egg whites, which is a really excellent sign for ovulation. And the reason it's fertile is it keeps the sperm alive as they travel through the uterus towards an egg. Generally though, the rest of the month, the vagina's pH is too acidic for the sperm to actually live in or survive through. We did try the 2 days I was back from the trip, the day before ovulation and the day of, as well as the day after. These fell on days 12, 13, and 14 of my cycle, as I couldn't confirm ovulation until after the fact with a temperature shift and ovulation strips. So we kind of just tried until I was sure that I had ovulated and I didn't have any more fertile cervical mucus. I felt very rushed and like we'd missed it because I originally wanted to try every second day in the fertile window. When we did try, I was a little drier than usual. My assumption was due to stress and displacement with work. Women who are trying to conceive are twice as likely to experience vaginal dryness than those not, possibly due to stress with timed intercourse. That is research on vaginal dryness, and I feel like I definitely experienced that. The dryness is also possibly a sign of low estrogen, but less likely for me in this situation. More likely, stress. And we did need to use additional lubricant. And when we used lubricant, we just used the regular kind, nothing sperm friendly. However, regular lubricant can certainly have a negative effect on sperm and pH. Research shows that some lubricants have been shown to be detrimental to sperm function, which may decrease the chance of successful conception also. With the negative result of the first month and the arrival of Aunt Flo, I decided to be more diligent with the second month. What did I do differently in the second month? I decided to focus in on the health things that I could actually change. Decreasing stress, slowing down, eating healthy, and planning more specifically this month as I was home the whole time. I wanted to enjoy the process and not feel rushed. I figured less clinical and more enjoyment. That was going to give us a better experience, better memories, and, well, decreased stress. One of the big changes I made was I bought a device, the Mirror Hormone Tracker, to track my estrogen and progesterone throughout the cycle. This is excessive for a regular person, but I was so curious and I love data, especially given the concerns I had with estrogen and progesterone that I really just was not content with. It was really cool to see where my hormone levels were actually at and observe the trends. Estrogen was fine and in the normal ranges. Progesterone did seem low, but just high enough to confirm ovulation, but definitely on the lower end of normal. Progesterone is supposed to peak at around 7 days after ovulation. For me, at that 7-day mark, my progesterone was low. The trend of my graph looked okay despite the number, so it really wasn't on the worst side. So I was prepared to potentially have to spend some more time working on my progesterone levels if we were unsuccessful. Coupled with my temperature rise of 3 consecutive days, I confidently confirmed ovulation on day 14 of my cycle. We used the Conceive Plus fertility lubricant this time to help ease my worry that I may not be enough lubricated, which in turn is just gonna cause more dryness. When it came to actually doing the deed, we spaced it out throughout the month. Basically every second day over an 8-day period, which 8 days is longer than what was necessary. And at one point we did do 3 days in a row in the middle, not for anything strategic. I decided to do every second day to space it out and not to overdo it on the sperm side. We started doing the deed before it hit my fertility window as we wanted to make sure the sperm quality was good. Research suggests that longer abstinence from ejaculation is associated with higher sperm count and semen volume. However, when it comes to sperm motility and morphology, the opposite is seen. Yes, if you wait longer and have a buildup of sperm, it makes sense that you would have more sperm. However, it does make for poorer quality sperm. So you've got to keep that in mind and weigh that up. So basically there's a happy medium for sperm count and quality. We wanted to make sure, well, for lack of a better term, that we were trying with fresh, healthy sperm in my fertility window. I was sleeping better this month and noticeably less stress. Not traveling really helped with that. After ovulation, all I could do was wait and see. All else was pretty much out of my control. What happened next though was I got a spike in both estrogen and progesterone on day 9 post-ovulation, which led me to take a pregnancy test to find it was positive. I don't know, there's definitely a line. I feel like I definitely see a line. This was so surreal, and I'm currently still pregnant in my 3rd trimester. The details on how I find out early is in another video on my channel, so if you're interested, go check that out. And all this to say, it's not always straightforward. All we can do is our best. I believe there's always a natural solution to health, whether we know what it is yet or not. Optimal health correlates with fertility. Our bodies are more likely to be able to relax and create a safe environment for new life when everything else is just under control. I really hope you found this helpful. I don't know where I'd be without all of this information, so I hope and pray it helps helps you in your journey. If you like this video, subscribe and check out this video right here where I share my experience of finding out I was pregnant and how I knew so early. All of this information that I kind of expressed really helped know that I was pregnant early and not wait until I had a missed period. Go check that video out. Thanks for watching, and well, I will see